Old dirty fatties here. We're good.
Yep. How you doing? This is John, and welcome to it's Clobbering time. This is where we do a silly little show. We talk about silly comic book things and have a silly time. How's that?
Comics are serious. Are you kidding me?
This week we're going to talk about what is your favorite comic book crossover.
Oh, I have a couple. I just off the top of my head, I am sure.
I have a couple too.
We might have the same ones.
Me and you end up agreeing more often than disagreeing. I'm looking very Saruman-like today. Take the hobbits to Isengard. But anyway, let's say Massive Panda is here. How you doing? Hey, John, I hope you have an excellent Friday. I am having an excellent Friday. Very good Friday. I woke up. It was in my field. It was beautiful weather out. And my job, I'm working in a building, and the buildings don't have any walls yet. They wouldn't need construction.
It's cold in the building.
So the fact that it was warm, once I get in the building, that there's a roof over my head, but there's no walls. So there was no wind, and it was warm. That's all I asked. That back in my 20s, I wanted $1 million, a harem. In my 50s, I just want to go to work and not be freezing. So it was an excellent day. My partner's a cool guy. He's going to another job on Monday. So,
that sucks.
Yeah, it's the way it is. You say hello to a lot of cool people, and you say goodbye to a lot of cool people.
Yeah, I knew somebody else who did the same job as you. So
yeah. I know this guy also. This is John's Longbox. He's making a comic book called Heroic Tales.
Well, he made that comic book.
Yeah, 2 issues out already. Issue 1, issue 2. I just saw a new review. And it's funny because it comes out swinging, and this guy just finds
I saw that review.
Yeah, this guy finds error in my comic, and then at the end, he ended up liking it. It was like
that's a typical review of him. I subscribe and unsubscribe to him because his reviews often do exactly what he did to you, just kind of zero in on stuff that not that important, like little teeny things.
But you know what? He wasn't wrong.
Bad.
He wasn't wrong. And there's a couple of things that he zoomed in on. There's a couple.
But he's into the minutia.
There's a couple of things that he zoomed in on that I can't comment on. He picked up a few little oddities, and they're things that are going to happen later.
But stuff that's on purpose. Yeah, that's the one thing.
Right. But he's not wrong on most of the stuff. And that comic, I didn't have an editor. I just did it myself, read it myself, and realized I need an editor. So my second issue, I hired an editor. I'd like to, the other story, the third story that's already given to Bill, the editor found no grammatical errors in it. So I'm getting better.
Well, I was insulted that he criticized Bill, by the way. You know how much I like Bill's lettering.
Right. But anyway, I commented in the chat, thank you. And everybody in the chat was like, wow, you took another. I was like, he didn't say anything bad.
No, it was over 5 stars.
Yeah, it was a
6.5 out of 10. That's good.
But and he gave me one thing that I'm not going to mention that really gave me something to think about.
Oh, good.
That maybe I'll address it in around Patriarch number 2, because Patriarch number 1's already written. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I liked about it is
good.
He came at it from a different direction. He spotted things that some things I can't comment on, and a couple of things that I was like, he's kind of right about this, and I never thought about it.
What was your first comic? Well,
right.
So
But this was what criticism was supposed to be. I don't think it was mean-spirited.
No, I don't think anything he does is mean-spirited.
So I'm glad. And it was funny because a couple of people in this chat were like, "Yeah, take that, John's dong box," and then like other people. Just
I didn't pay attention to his comments. I saw it after.
And anybody who makes a comic book and doesn't check out the reviews and read the comments is lying.
So I have the funniest story, and I forgot to say it yesterday. Oh, Tony's here, so he can hear. Oh, good.
Let me just address everybody in the chat, and then we'll go. So, Old Dirty Fatty, whose name never fails to make me giggle, is here. Old Dirty Fatty. I don't know what you look like, but it's got to be better than what I picture in my mind when I hear Old Dirty. I need to get these comics. These pages look great. Still available. Issue 1 and issue 2 could both be bought in a package deal over. That link is the only place to get it right now. Working on a store, and once I get the store open, I want that to be my permanent place. So when I make cards and put things in ads and other, like I bought an ad for a future King Cryptid comic, by Turner Comics, and I just hope that comes to happen. Me and Marcus were just talking about this might be the end of Alterna Comics, which is a shame. That was one of my favorite comic book companies, So I just hope that they work that out, and whatever happens with everything else.
At least King Cryptid, right? At least King Cryptid.
Yeah, I hope King Cryptid comes. Hey, Tony Grigo, I know that guy. Tony Grigo. This is an open invite show, so you can click on this link, pop in. Couple of rules: try to keep it family friendly, and turn your camera on. If I don't know you, keeping a camera on keeps out the shenanigans. Monomaka says hello. Little off talk. I didn't know you. No, I did not flag Shine Comics. What happened was Shine Comics was on my channel, and somebody stole the entire video and put it on their channel. That I flagged. So I was typing. I was answering a question while I was driving. I hope my wife didn't hear that. But
don't do that, John.
I know I'm going to get a message on my phone any second now. But so that did come out. I did not. No, Shine is cool by me. He didn't do anything wrong. That I want to stop that rumor before it even starts. But he was on my channel. We did almost like a 2-hour video. Somebody else took that entire video, and their commentary is just like, "This guy's a jerk."
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
So that I flagged. Don't steal entire videos.
It wasn't me.
I got no problems if you want to take a clip, comment on it. But people, either a YouTube video is somebody's work or it's not. And money's involved, ads involved, copyright infringements and stuff like that are involved. So we all agree that it's work. You can't just take somebody's work without asking and then put your advertisements on top of it. Just like, so I stand by that. Don't steal. I don't steal anybody else's content. Don't steal my content.
I don't.
You got it, Mono Mike. Shine is a cool guy. I got no problems with Shine. I really liked his video on Alan Moore's The Man Who Has Everything. Just really good insights. I'm not a big on hyperfixating on minutia. My creativity was an enjoyable read. Was the art solid? Did I get immersed in the universe when I continue reading? Then you'll love my comic if you'll gloss over all the imperfections, and there are.
So,
like I said to how do you say his name, Marcus or Tony? In case you don't know what we're talking about, I said there was a new review for Her Oak Tales.
Oh, it's Mike Partika.
Mike Partika. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he reviews comics. He reviews a lot of Rippaverse comics, some CG comics, some just crowdfunding comics generally. He doesn't really have a dog in the fight. He kind of gets along with it. Well, he doesn't like Rippaverse comics, but that's based on the comics he read, not based on the personality.
Well, I didn't, I famously didn't like ISOM 1 and 2, you know what I mean? But I do like all those guys, But I based it on what I read the comic, not other people's.
Right. So I just wanted to make that. When I say that, I don't want to get myself into trouble.
So somebody sent me a link. Oh, this guy did a review. And then he said, watch the whole review before you make a judgment. And I was kind of gonna.
Yeah, that's it. Right. That's
but it started out, I was like, oh my God, this guy.
I felt the same way.
But it ended, he was very fair and he wasn't wrong about anything. I got to say that. So, and then I commented in the chat, said, thanks for this review. You've given me a lot of stuff to think about, which he did. Like I was just telling Marcus, and I don't want to point it out, but he gave me something that I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Well, he's a writer, I don't know what he's written. He's written a couple of books. I don't know if he's written any comics.
But I said in the chat, I said, nobody's harsher on that comic than me. I mean, when I first came out, it was the greatest thing in the world, and I loved it. And then about 6 months later, I was embarrassed by it. You know what I mean? Every era was like a beacon in the night, and now I made peace with it. It's my first comic, so my goal is to get better with every comic. That I have a low step, and I just hope that every issue I step up. So, and that's up to you guys. Let me know. I already see the flaws in issue 2 now that now that I'm looking at other stuff.
So I want to tell this story.
Oh, go ahead.
And it has nothing to do with comics. So I get a text from my best friend in New York. He's up in Yorktown, and he goes, "Hey," and I said, "What's up?" He goes, I heard you passed away. So there's a whole bunch of people in New York that thought I died.
Oh wow. Hope did
And
they
I'm like,
hope or thought?
and I said, nope, I'm alive. I'm right here, Mike. I'm like, Gooch, we call him Gooch. And he's like, yeah, thank God. It was my old high school buddies that we just saw at a reunion last year that I played football with. Oh, Murph said you passed away. Well, who told him that? Anthony Ritchie. I'm like, oh my goodness. So there's a whole bunch of people who thought he think you could have called my sister or something. Well, he has her number, I think. He's like a family friend too. So I thought that was like the weirdest thing that happened this week.
Well, at least he reached out and called you.
Well, he texted me, I'm here, and I sent him some fan, I'll send him a clip of his favorite music. I'm still alive. He's a big concert goer,
Yeah.
So I thought you'd like that. That's just something funny.
So Tony, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, guys. How are all you?
What's the weather? Perfect over there in Albuquerque, right?
No, actually, kind of cool and windy. Oh. Very windy, but yeah.
It's perfect here in North Carolina.
It was
beautiful.
It's getting windy. By the end of the day, it was windy, and this job site that I'm working on right now, for obvious reasons, I'm not naming the exact building that I'm working in, but you could pull right up to it, and it's a mud lot. And because of a construction site and everybody's cars, it is a mud lot. So I wear my boots to my car and I change in my car because I don't want to step in because the puddles are deeper than. But yesterday my wife said to me, John, you got to wash this car. I was just like, not until I leave this job. I'll wash it this weekend, and by Monday afternoon, it'll be filthy.
It'll be rotten again. Yeah.
It's weird because I'm driving on the highway and I could just hear, because there must be mud all in the undercarriage. Because my car is just a regular small car, you know what I mean? It's not a pickup truck or anything. So as I'm driving, I guess dried mud is falling off, and it's I could just, it sounds like pebbles are falling out of my car. So, hey, how you doing, Arkham?
Hey, Arkham, how you doing? How you feeling today?
Doing good. Working on John's cover.
Oh, cool. That cover from that cover. So, for those of you who don't know, I got two people in this panel right now who are working on my comics. Marcus is working on The Public Eye, and Arkham is working on Mythman and Fable, a Greek-inspired. He's basically the new demigod kind of thing, and it's.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. Oh, that looks good. That looks. Are you putting cover dress on it too?
I just put the cover dress on it just so I can.
Okay.
See where I'm going to have some available space where I'm not going to have to worry about putting in a lot.
Yeah. I love when it comes to the cover. I just tell the artist, just send, you can do it. If you want me to tell you what to do, I'll tell you what to do. But usually it's just like you thought about the art more than me, so do whatever you want.
I'm working on the third
just
page.
Keep in mind we got to put heroic tales on the top, and or the bottom. Mike Kusevich did all the art on the top, so I had to put the cover dress on the bottom. So anyway, I guess so I'm back at my normal work schedule. So I'm going to be streaming at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the most part from now on. And it's funny because next week I'm going to work at 11 at night. But at least I was not. It's not the middle shift. It doesn't change my life too much if it's the night shift, because then it's just switching sleep for work. You know what I mean? I still have the same free time. So that's not, but it's time and a half. It's a week of time and a half. I can't say no to that.
You can't say no to that.
No. And if you guys know what standby is, that is just like the gift when you're in construction. Standby is other people are they're building pits, and it's pretty dangerous work. And they're not allowed to work because it's a lot of fire and controlled demos. They're not allowed to work when other people are there, so they only work at night. And they need electrical power. So there has to be an electrician there. So I go there, check with them,
stand by,
and I sit in a chair and read comic books and get paid for it. Don't tell anybody I said that. But anyway, that's. But we everybody takes a turn. You know what I mean? Everybody takes a turn. It's the only fair thing to do. So this week we're going to talk about our favorite comic book crossover, and I always like Tony. Tony, do you want to start? I always love what you have to say.
Sure, I got 4, if that's okay.
Do whatever you want, Tony.
Cool. All right, my first one, canonically, I'm going to do these by when they were published, by the year. All-Star Comics number 3. That is the ultimate crossover, the first ultimate crossover in comics. That is the first appearance of the superhero team in comics, first time ever. Written by Gardner Fox, illustrated by various illustrators. That was the first time that the Justice Society of America first met. So that was basically the entirety of the All-American line of comic book characters. So you had the Flash, the Green Lantern, the Spectre, Dr. Fate, Hourman, the Atom. I'm missing one. The Sandman. I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, and Johnny Thunder and the original Red Tornado. There you go. That's the first crossover in comics history. Probably one of the single most important comic books ever published. And yeah, that's my first one.
I gotta say, I'm so glad you're here, Tony, because you're coming off strong, and I gotta agree with you. This is one of the greatest crossovers of all time, and I'm hoping that you're gonna pick my number 1. I know you are. I have a feeling you and Marcus are gonna pick this one.
Maybe, but I'd like to add why this was made. Okay, the Justice Society was essentially a way to showcase characters that were not selling particularly well, right? So there's a reason why Batman, Superman were never part of this team, even from the beginning. It's because they sold extremely well. They did not need to be there. And every time a character that was featured as a JSAer, their sales started to grow. They were retired from the team. They became honorary members. So the first chairman is Jay Garrick, the Flash, and he lasted for about 8 issues, and then he retired. He got replaced by Dr. Midnight, I believe. And he
retired popular enough and he didn't need to be in the team, and they just wanted to.
Sorry.
Did they retire the Flash? Like when you said he retired, did he retire as a Justice Society member?
Yeah, as a Justice Society member.
Right.
Was it because his comic was selling and they figured?
Yes.
Okay.
He got a second title, All Flash Comics. So he was really selling well. He was one of the few.
Just think about that, like he bangs the gavel. This meeting is adjourned. I just would like to say, I'm out of here, losers. My comic is selling. Here you go, Dr. Midnight. You need it more than me.
I'm out selling you all the time. It's 5-1.
Pretty much. Now, and sometimes the character is phased out altogether, like the Spectre. The Spectre was phased out right around Morphon Comics 90, I'm thinking, because I told you, John, he started off great, but then he turned him into a joke character. Essentially, his strip was taken over by a character called Percival Pup Super Cop. And the grim, dark avenger of God's wrath was basically turned into a guardian angel for this incompetent, funny character. Essentially, think of Inspector Clouseau, solving crimes, and in spite of his idiocy. Only instead of Clouseau doing it because he had extreme luck, Percival Pup Super Cop basically survived it because the Spectre was constantly shadowing him. That was his guardian angel. So I mean, sometimes they graduated from the JSA for good sales. Sometimes they disappeared because they were phased out altogether. Now, on the other note, Wonder Woman.
Hold on. Last week when we did most inconsistent characters, we all should have talked about the Spectre. Now that you made me think about him, what a character that's been inconsistently portrayed throughout his history.
Well, that was one of the characters that Mort Weisinger pretty much kicked in the nuts. He did that with the Spectre, he did that with Dr. Fate, and he did that with the Sandman. Those are three characters that he kind of crippled, in my opinion. You
Why
know,
do you think he did that?
I have
Is
no
there
idea.
anything as to any reason?
I have no idea. I'll give you an example. Dr. Fate, back in the early days, Fate had the full helmet, and he was a like a pulp
Yeah, I
character.
love the full helmet.
Inza Kramer and him, they had that. My favorite thing about the golden age of DC Comics is what I call the Nick and Nora relationship. Has anyone here seen the Thin Man?
The Thin Man, yeah, I know all about it.
It's like, yeah, I mean, not damsel in distress, equal partners, you know, like Margot Lane and the Shadow. And when around Morphunk Comics 71, 72, Mort Weisinger decided, you know, cut the helmet in half, cut his powers in half, and you know, and just change Inza Kramer into a damsel in distress.
I did not like the half helmet.
And right around that time, he really crippled one of my favorite characters, the Sandman, the Wesley Dodds Sandman. They gave him a ridiculous costume, which was in fact lifted from another already existing All-American character called the Tarantula, if anybody knows who that is. And purple and gold. They took away his gas gun. They took away his gas mask. They took away the beautiful three-piece suit and the fedora. And they
Kirby
gave
did a lot of those Sandman and Sandy. Yeah.
That was also Jack Kirby and Joe Simon's first team up, right? Doing those things.
No, that was the first time that they worked for DC.
Oh,
Yeah, he did a big long run on, well, at least for the covers, on the Sandman.
They took it over when Martin Goodman fired them because they were moonlighting for other companies. Martin Goodman said, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. So anyways, he did that, and then what he did with the Spectre was completely unforgivable. I mean, that's probably the coolest Golden Age character in my opinion. Just as cool, if not cooler, than the Batman. But he just completely destroyed that. Oddly enough, though, Weisinger was able to, the two characters he created, Aquaman and Green Arrow, he sort of always kept them hidden and took care of them and kind of shepherded them through the great comic moral panic of the 50s. And so anyways, I'm getting into the weeds here.
I love these tangents. That's these shows are supposed to just be a good comic book discussion, and so wherever it may take us, once in a while I'll hit that typewriter and bing, bring us back. But I'm see, I didn't know about that Spectre with Percival Pup.
Yeah, it's I don't know what just Tony. If you can find a picture of him, he's this dorky looking guy with glasses and a suit.
But it's like the reason why they have Dobie Dickles, like they all had to have a silly character.
Right, Dobie Dickles.
For Batman and any Superman had Jimmy Olsen, so he didn't need one.
Right.
Well, Dobie Dickles actually served a purpose.
I know he did, but that doesn't mean the other people understood that. Yeah,
Percival Pup was a horrible character, absolutely terrible, and he's the reason why the Spectre died an early death.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I'll leave it on the floor if anybody wants to talk more about the JSA. Oddly enough, the Avengers started for the same reason. If you look back, the Avengers were made of B, C level characters because the ones that were selling good at Marvel at the time was Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four, but the Avengers were Iron Man, they were Hank Pym, they were the Hulk. The characters that weren't selling good enough, they sort of crammed them into the event. Is that him?
It's a Percival Pup. Okay, I thought you were saying Pup, so I thought it was like a dog character,
Pup, Percival Pup, Super Cop. But yeah, that's the idiot that took over his strip and basically killed the character.
Oh. Yeah, well, you were right about the Avengers. They took all the characters that weren't selling too well, and then
I have something for the Avengers. As a matter of fact, Stan always wanted anybody who had their own comic out of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there was Cap's Kooky Quartet, as they got their own strips. that he always wanted to have B and C characters. And Roy Thomas going into the 60s, we used to fight to get Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man back in the Avengers. That's why Black Panther was a long time better. The Vision, Scarlet Witch. It's always
the JSA's secretary was Wonder Woman. Everyone thinks she was a full-fledged member. No, not really. She was their secretary. Later on, towards the end of the strip, towards the end of the 40s, she engaged in some adventures, but usually she was there taking the minutes.
That's really funny, that's pretty funny.
Wonder Woman, make some coffee, please.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. So my second one would be, and this one's little known, and I'm surprised not too many people know it. All-Star Comics number 7. Does anybody know?
No, but I'm looking it up so I can have an image.
That is the first time that Batman and Superman ever met. The first crossover between these two characters, and they only appeared in one panel, side by side with the Flash. And they according to the word balloons, they'd already met before and they were already friends. So I guess their first meeting never was written about, but that's the first time they were ever in a panel together. See, before, like in World's Finest Comics, they were always sharing the covers, but they weren't actually in the stories. So that's the first time. Now, later on in Superman 76, back in 1952, that's the issue. They actually shared a full story. But in this comic right here, they only meet in one panel. I know it's kind of a cheat, but it is technically the first time Batman ever met Superman.
Look at that costume. That Alan Ladd Green Lantern costume. It shouldn't work,
be any
but
good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The green pants, red shirt, purple cape. Oh,
that still is my favorite Green Lantern. Too bad they destroyed him completely.
Yeah, and then look at that Sandman costume behind him. There's something about a fedora and a gas mask. Like, you know, my characters for my comic books come from my role playing games. So when I'm playing my role playing games with my friends, I'll make like blatant rip-offs and stuff like that. But there's characters that I can't take from my role playing game, put them in the comic because they're obviously rip-offs. You know, but I have one guy called the Gaslighter, and the Gaslighter has a fedora, a gas mask, and a gas gun. Guess who he's a ripoff of? You know what I mean? I just love that character. You know, my friends love drawing him. You know, that's why I love that Sandman Mystery Theater comic. You know, it just that look is so freaking cool. Why there is not a Sandman Mystery Theater movie or TV series?
Movie or TV series would be cool, right?
You know what I mean? Like they want to do a dark and depressing Lanterns. There you go, Wesley Dodd Sandman. But they don't want to hire period pieces and stuff like that. I guess. But you talk about the grandfather of bad costumes, but it's awesome. Is the original Adam costume?
Oh, come on! I like that costume.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so bad. It transcends horror into godlyhood. It is the brown mask, the yellow shirt, the brown pants, and what is it? I forget what color cape. A brown cape.
Yellow. But yeah, that was like a luchador costume. It's amazing how many of the founding members of the JSA look like professional wrestlers.
Well, that's kind of what they were aping, right? Superman with the pants, with the underpants on outside.
Well, you know, I want to say something about Superman with the underpants on.
Good.
And this has nothing to do with your character, but when you're an artist, to draw the character, I was just finished drawing the Samaritan, right? For this cover, this sketch cover I did. And when you're drawing these superhero characters without the underpants on, it's really, really difficult to draw like the groin region. You know what I'm saying? The underpants gives you a thing. You could use some wrinkles here or there, but that whole thing all the way across, you know, like it doesn't cut, the color doesn't cut off, and that's nothing against you or anything. It's just a general thing. If you want to see it, you have it here.
Yeah, I agree. I love Superman with the red. I love Batman with the blue.
There's something with the color, like, you know. I did this for a guy.
What's up, Tony?
Oh, the reason for that is, see, back in the Victorian era, during the, you know, where a woman couldn't even show anything above her ankles, the strongmen in the circus. They wanted to show
Right.
people their physique, right? But they wouldn't dare to show their chest hair and all that. So they would wear like a skin tight bodysuit and then wear like their leopard skin thongs over it. That way no one would be shocked. So that's where the whole superhero costume thing came from. That's where that.
Oh, you know what? Now it's so obvious because they're maintaining modesty,
Yeah, but showing off their physique and how strong they are. So anyways, to get back to that issue, the reason that they come together essentially is the JSA in that issue have to raise $1 million for war orphans, because this was 1941, I believe. I think 1941. And everyone does it. Everyone's able to raise a chunk of it, but Johnny Thunder is about 800,000 or so short. He can't do it. The idiot has
he's only 80% less than everybody else.
Yeah, he has a gene, so he could wish for it, but it doesn't occur to him. But he wishes for it in a roundabout way, and then pop, here comes the two honorary members of the JSA, Superman and Batman, each with a gigantic bag of cash. In the end, they do succeed in raising the money. So that's that one. Now,
wait. Before you go to the next one, I just want to address everybody in the chat. There's a lot of comments coming in, and I hate for people to feel neglected. So Old Dirty Fatty says, "Do I need an assistant?"
Yeah.
It would be nice to have somebody talk to, but then I won't get all my books read. I'm going to bring stacks of comics and get paid for it. So there you go.
Don't say
why
it
am I not at work? I'm on. That's the nature of construction. Is once the job is to be there anymore, you go someplace else. So I'm at another job that has regular hours. But this job is, in my professional opinion, it's so far behind. It's only a matter of time before there's going to be 24-hour shifts. And if they offer extra money to work different shifts, I will take that in a heartbeat. You got to work, so you might as well make the most money during the week.
I agree.
Hey, how you doing? Thrum. I wish I could see the first names. I'm always seeing the last names. Good to see you. Zach Taylor, blessed day. Ben Sabar says good morning. Omnipro says right now they are crossing over Superman and Spider-Man. All the top writers and artists are working on them. Yeah, I saw a clip of that. And I also saw a clip where they were like throwing shade of Spider-Man being married or something like that. I don't know if I got it out of context, but guys, if I was in charge of Marvel, I would have like somebody like Aunt May.
People get married. That's like a rule.
Right. I would have some sort of like maybe a moment of clarity before Aunt May's on her deathbed and she gets to see she's like, you threw away your marriage. You threw away my grandchildren to save my life. I'm an old lady.
I think that's absolutely exactly what she would say.
Yeah, and then why not make a big story about it where Spider-Man undoes a devilish, make him a hero again. Redemption.
They could do that. I think they could do that.
Batman and Superman's first appearance together. I can only imagine how rare and costly that issue is. Yeah. Also, remember, any comics from this era survived purges. Remember back in the war times, they were having paper drives and stuff like that. So it was considered patriotic to bring your comics out for these paper drives. So a lot of comics just didn't survive. Where am I now? I like that All-Star 7 cover. I appreciate how the artist made the background characters blue so as not to distract from the foreground. Simplicity looks so great. I gotta agree. Sometimes less is more. Who is that under Hawkman? That was Dr. Fate with the onion turnip helmet and the atom. I appreciate all the comic. It's just Tony's show. Me and Marcus and everybody just nod.
I know, really. What's the stuff with the golden age? Forget Arkham.
So Tony, in that comic, did Bruce Wayne just write a check or something like that? Like,
if you could find the panel, they both have sacks of money. They literally, you have Superman here with the sack of money, Batman here with the sack of money, and the Flash with the sack of money. That's it. They're only in one panel. It's a cheat. Like I said, later on in 52, they actually have a story together, like a full story. It's in Superman 76, 1952. But technically, that is the first time they ever share space in the same story, and it's also established in the story that they'd already met prior. So it is technically their first
over
meeting.
at the superhero clubhouse. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
So the third one would be Marvel Mystery Comics number 8. The first meeting, the first battle of the original Human Torch and the Submariner.
There you go. That's the one I was.
The tales of that production are legendary.
What's the name of the comic again? I want to look up the issue number. I mean, the image.
Marvel Mystery Comics number 8, 1940. And supposedly, from what I read, like the people were like working, where they just sort of rented this hotel room, and everyone was there, and they were like drawing wherever they could. Like some people were drawing in the bathtub, some people were drawing on the bed. Yeah, and it was like a jam session, man. Everybody was, everybody.
Not a great piece of artwork, that's for sure.
Yeah, everybody was just pouring their hearts and souls into this because they wanted it to work so well. And it's one of the greatest golden age Marvel Comics stories ever made. It's such a great story, man. Bill Everett and Marcus, help me out here. Who's the guy that created the? Burgos. They both had equal partnership in the story. They both didn't want one to come out on top of the other. So if you read the story, it's sort of a stalemate. Fire versus water. Battle of the elements.
They completely destroyed New York too, almost in a realistic way. Like people died.
Exactly.
It's kind of amazing. It really is.
Yeah, the first Marvel Comics crossover. First time ever, ladies and gentlemen. First time.
So in a real way, this is the beginning of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, well, the beginning of the movie. True. Yeah, I mean that's when they first acknowledge their the presence of the other characters in the group. So yeah.
I was looking up if this will come up on my. Boy,
I heard that they did this entire comic in 48 hours.
Yes, right. 2 days. Everybody was like, I said, it was a jam session. That was like watching the greatest jam session in comics. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall there.
Oh, I also heard that this was the first jam, and it became like an unofficial thing. A jam is when a bunch of artists all get together and work on one comic as fast as possible.
And it was their greatest selling comic to that point. So they made sure that at least once a year the two of them would meet, and they did for I know for about 4 straight years.
The two underrated creators of all time, Carl Burgos and particularly Bill Everett. I mean, Bill Everett's like the artist from the beginning of comics. He was creating characters.
It breaks my heart that people don't remember the Torch and the Submariner. I know that the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko era of Marvel was so great that, I mean, it's easy to just sweep those two characters under the rug. But these guys, without these guys, you would not have Marvel as you know it.
Remember they hired Bill Everett to create the Daredevil, create and do Daredevil, although that didn't really come through. He couldn't really finish it because Bill Everett was a terrible alcoholic, which is why he died young.
What about Carl Burgos? What happened to him? I know he created the Human Torch, but I never really hear about him. Did he die young also?
Who, Burgos? No, Burgos lived to be an old man. He got in trouble with Martin Goodman. He wanted more money, and Martin Goodman went, see ya.
Yeah, because Martin Goodman hated artists and he liked the writers. He had no use for the artists. It was the weirdest thing, which is one of the reasons why Kirby and Ditko got screwed, although nobody talks about it. They blame Lee, but a lot of it is Goodman.
And then Burgos tried to sue Martin Goodman because of the Human Torch from the FF. Like, hey, wait a minute, that's my idea, that's my name, and that further just made him a pariah at the Marvel Comics offices.
It's almost sad to hear this stuff. Well, it's not almost. It is sad to hear this stuff, because I remember as a kid, I'm old enough to collect Fantastic Four, like around issue 150. You know, so every once in a while they would bring up the old original Human Torch. One annual that they reprinted a couple of times, where the Johnny Storm meets Jim Hammond, and if memory serves me correctly, they also fought Quasimodo in that issue. But it just seemed like, oh yeah, the original Human Torch. This is like 1975, 76. You know, I'm 10 years old, and it just seemed like in the far distant past. It was like Lord of the Rings, like Frodo reminiscing about the First Age or something like that. Like, oh, legendary times of this character, the Human Torch. And then Omnipro is asking, is that Superman fighting Solomon Grundy on the cover? No,
that's the Angel, right?
That's the Angel. And it's funny that he's blue and red. Who's he fighting? I don't know the character that he's fighting, though.
The Angel was a really great character, John, and I'd like to talk about him one day. We're talking about him right now. Talk about him. I'm just going to grab the soda. He was a killer. Essentially, that is the Shadow, but without, the slouch coat and hat. This guy would kill people, and he was a killer. That's what he was. And in fact, decades later, during the 80s run of Captain America, the Mark Gruenwald run, it was established that the Scourge of the Underworld, which was essentially a plan by Marvel editorial to kill and get rid of all the crappier versions of these one-note villains that they came up with for years and years. The Scourge was an organization that was made by the Angel. And all the agents it was originally thought that the Scourge of the Underworld was one guy, but it was like revealed to be an entire organization.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, is that where the 1980s, no 90s, early 90s Marvel villain, the Scourge, who went in Captain America and killed a bunch of villains?
That was it. Now, this character didn't have much of an origin story. He was just a dude in a blue and red costume that would kill people. But he was vicious, man. The stories, those old Golden Age Angel stories, man, this guy was like the Punisher. He was mowing people down, with hail of gunfire. In fact, I'm remembering one issue, he actually got a plane, and he got a parachute, and he basically slammed the plane. He found out where this criminal organization was meeting in this building. He basically pulled. I'm not going to say. I was going to make a horrible joke, but I won't. He crashed the plane on the side of this building, and he managed to eject just in time, and he killed everybody in that. All the bad guys that were in that building.
But he looked like Tony Stark. He had the little
the little thin mustache.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He couldn't do anything, but he's reminiscent of Superman, except he doesn't have the red shorts. But that blue and red is striking. I mean, think about it. Thor has the blue and red. It's
Spider-Man has the blue and red.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man has the blue and red.
Yeah.
But yeah,
our beautiful flag has the blue and red.
Yep.
And he was him and the Torch and the Submariner were the best. They were the features that were loved the most in the original Marvel Comics run. I don't know why he never made it to the Silver Age. I know that Stan Lee took his name for the X-Men character and actually made him an actual angel.
Right. Yeah. I was about to bring that up. There's a lot of Golden Age characters that you don't realize. There's a lot of modern characters that were recycled from the Golden Age. I mean, the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and the Johnny Storm, that's the obvious one. The Submariner is the original character. I guess they didn't want to. That's an odd name more the Submariner, but Angel. And then look right down there. It says Electro, Kazar, the Great, and
you're missing the black, the original Black Widow. She was a villain in that one, but yeah.
Also, there was Daredevil, who wasn't even a Marvel character.
No, Hillman Comics.
Right. There was a lot of So whenever I hear that story about Mark Goodman ordered Stan Lee to jump on the Captain Marvel name when DC forgot to renew it, so they made Marvel, and Stan Lee was like, I didn't really care. I was like, bitch, please, you took Daredevil. You know, you took other names. You know what I mean? So don't tell me you all of a sudden felt bad. You know, and
No.
you know what makes sense. You admit Marvel Comics. I would have been like a viper ready to strike as soon as that copyright expired. But
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say now.
Comics, for gosh sakes, right?
yeah,
Now, Kazar was an interesting one. Kazar was originally a pulp that was written and created by Martin Goodman. People forget that Marvel Comics was originally a pulp magazine company. Kazar came out in like 36, but he was turned into a comic book character for Marvel Comics #1. And of course, I would be remiss in saying this, in my opinion, the most rarest comic book you could ever own is the first appearance of the Submariner, which was Motion Pictures Funnies Weekly. There were only 3 of them in existence. 2 with covers, 1 coverless. And I've never even seen the interior, what it looks like. I've never even seen one in real life. They're that rare. I don't even know who owns it. Probably a Saudi prince.
yeah.
But they're very rare.
And John knows this. The Submariner is in public domain.
Hey, Buzz is here. How you doing, Buzz? Good to see you. Just read your anthology comic. I'll be talking about all the comics I read next week. Good comic. Spoiler alert. How you doing? It is a cool color. Look at the color. Interesting. All that yellow. You know, comics mystery. I love that. Yeah, I gotta say, during the Kree Skrull War, you know, Rick Jones got the psionic ability to summon all the Golden Age heroes and fight. And I was like, ever since then, I was always intrigued by these characters, you know. But I was a stupid kid. You know, we all play that game. If you could go back in time with the knowledge that you possess now, what would you do? Like, I'd go to like Mile High Comics and buy all of these comics when they were affordable. Back in the early '80s, late '70s, you know, back then you could have picked up Fantastic Four #1 for like $80. You know, I remember. My comic book store had Amazing Fantasy 15 for $60. Like, it was a lot of money to a 3rd grader, but it wasn't insurmountable. You know what I mean? Like, other people, like, I'd go back in time and kill Hitler. I'd go back in time and visit my I was like, I'd go back in time and get Marvel Comics Mystery #8.
I'd buy all of John Bird's original artwork at a 1981 comic convention in a stack with all the comic money. I'd take all the comic money and buy original art instead. And I'd be
who's original art? Was this?
I'd buy original art.
Oh yeah.
You know, back then we would go like in the 80s, like when I was a kid, 14, 15 years old. Like, I bought an Iron Man cover for $45. Regular pages were like $20, $25. And it'd be stacks of them like this. And it'd be like Byrne or Emma, whoever was there. Like, and it'd just be worthless. Like, people were buying them, but they were not for the money they buy now.
Speaking of copyright, Perth Comics says Marvel and DC lost the copyright to the term superhero because someone challenged it and they didn't respond. To me, I don't know. I'm not a legal expert, but to me, it seems like it's like a word everybody uses, so it's not that special. So, like, Marvel and DC.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, you know, Archie Comics copyrighted the word teenager.
They did?
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's basically for publication, not for, like, you know, other publishers.
I'm saying it right now. I'm filling out the paperwork right now to copyright the word sandwich. So anybody who uses the word sandwich is going to owe me money. You know, it's just so silly to copyright such a common word.
Well, both DC and Marvel tried to do the superhero separately, and the courts gave it to them equally.
Well, oddly enough, John, I was going to tell you, my father back in the 60s traded a kid in the neighborhood that collected comics like him. This is in the early 60s. He traded him a Amazing Spider-Man #1 for a Captain America Comics #1.
Oh,
And that is the one book that my father has kept all of his years. It resides on near permanent display in a vault. He'll only go there once. He'll only go to the bank once a year and look at it for a little while, and he'll put it back. That's like his most prized possession. He's like Gollum with the ring, you know, that he loves that thing. He just adores it so much.
yeah, that's funny.
I heard this same exact story from 3 or 4 people that they had treasured comic books. You know, and like me, they became old, gray-haired people. But unlike me, they had children, and some of these children got substance problems. So I heard from 3 different people that their drug addict kids sold their father's precious comic book for drugs. You know?
Well, that's
I was
terrible.
going to say for worthless drugs, but that was a redundant statement. You know, one was able to get the comics back. Basically, this guy was a tough guy, and he went down to the drug dealer and it's like, hey, it's done. He's like, give me the comics. Like, I'm gonna beat you up so bad, and you can't call the police. What are you gonna do? You're gonna call the cops?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? She's like, so you either get me the comics right now, or we both go to jail. And who's gonna go to jail long? But the other ones, they were gone, long gone, long gone.
Terrible.
Well, for my final one, and this is an odd one, but I when I read it as a kid.
Can I just answer this question before? Because I know we're going to talk for 20 minutes. Where did people get issues like this back in the day? At newsstands, everywhere.
Oh, newsstands, yeah, they were everywhere.
Everywhere you went. You would go to drugstores. You'd go to what they called soda fountains. You'd go to
7-Eleven.
7-Elevens. You went to supermarkets. Literally everywhere there was comic books. But
Mine was my local pharmacy.
Local pharmacy.
Pharmacies, yeah.
So what was the next one, Tony? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, my final one, it's a weird one, absolutely weird one, but I fell in love with it when I first read it as a kid. Probably the only Image Comics issue that I own that has a special place in my heart, not for the story particularly. Well, the subject matter of the story itself. It's Spawn number 8, the Cerebus crossover with Spawn. Now, the reason I like that story is it basically encapsulates Dave Sim's argument for how these characters that are owned by corporations, these beloved characters, are exploited and mistreated by these callous, corrupt corporate people that just don't see them as important characters to the nation, but they see them as just IPs to be marketed, IPs to just be exploited, you know. And there's this wonderful page, I don't know if you can find it, John, where you see, drawn by Todd McFarlane, the corporate jail, where all the corporate-owned comic book characters are residing in while they're being exploited. You see these bars, like prison bars, and you see hands coming out of them. And one of them,
I remember that.
Spider-Man's hand, and Aquaman, and Iron Man's hand, and Batman's hand, and Superman's hand, and Dr. Octopus's tentacle. And you see Cerebus basically taking Spawn past that and showing them, like, this is what happens. This is what corporations, this is what money men do to these characters. And it's basically a celebration that Dave Sim is not, that Cerebus rather is not owned by anybody other than Dave Sim, and that Spawn is not owned by anybody other than Todd McFarlane. And at the end of it, it's basically, it says Cerebus, trademark, copyright, Dave Sim and Gerard, Spawn, copyright, trademark, copyright, Todd McFarlane. And it's such a neat story. It's never been reprinted because it doesn't really need to be reprinted, because it's its own thing. It was that time in the Spawn run where he had Neil Gaiman. He does the next issue, number 9, which introduces God, what's the name of that angel? Angelica, right? Angela. And then 7 was the Alan.
Marvel.
Yeah. And then 7 was the Alan Moore issue that basically tells you a little bit about hell. It's been years since I've read those, but that that right there is the only issue that I like and that I own. And I just love the story. It's just Dave Sim, you know, whatever you might think of the man, he's got his problems, but I always respected him as a creator. I always respected him for what he did. And I am a lifelong Cerebus fan. I have all 300 issues.
Do you have them in?
I have all the phone books. I am the odd man out in my group of friends. They always looked at me like I was nuts. You know, why are you reading this? This is boring. This sucks. That makes no sense. And I'm like,
do you have the floppy issues, or do you have them as those big phone books?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you didn't answer. Do you have the single issues, or do you have the
I have the single issue. I have the floppies. I have a first printing of Cerebus #1.
Yeah, me too.
And I got the phone books. I got it all. I even got in my parents' house, got a little statue of Cerebus like this, you know, dressed up like Conan the Barbarian. I just loved that guy, and I always wanted to meet Dave Sim, you know, but I don't think he does conventions. I don't think he does much of anything anymore. But
I tell you this,
Tony, really quick on the irony of issue 8
okay.
And the premises of that story that you were talking about. Next issue with Angelina's appearance, the fact that she ends up getting sold to Marvel is kind of ironic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like literally right after that issue, she appears,
Mm-hmm.
and then gets sold off to a major corporation.
Right. And they did nothing with her.
Nope.
Like, does anybody read any modern Marvel? Is Angela in it?
She's in the Rivals video game. Everyone loves her because she's hot.
Yeah, she's hot and basically naked, you know, so what's not to like? But that's why Emma Frost is so big. These people don't know the character, you know, they don't know. I just did
Weinstein.
if you want to see
Emma Epstein, there you go.
Yeah, if you want to see Emma watch Sunday Comics that I did last Sunday, it was her first appearance. Learned what a detestable character. She's a great character. She's a great villain, but she's irredeemable.
Hey, John.
Electro can be reformed. He's just a bank robber. You know what I mean? The Sandman can be reformed. He's just a bank robber. But like the Red Skull, Emma Frost, Dr. Doom, these are irredeemable.
Hey, John, you talked to Dave Sim. What was he like?
I was just about to say that. So I haven't been doing it lately because I've been on that weird schedule for about a year. But I would find these creators' contact information, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and sometimes I would just Google them, and I found Dave Sim's phone number, and I sat on it for like 2 months. Like, do I call Dave Sim? Do I call Dave Sim? So I called him. And he picked up. No, I called him. He screens all his calls. So I left a message on his machine. And I said, okay, that was a waste of time, but whatever. You know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, kind of thing. And then lo and behold, he calls me back about 2 hours later. Me and my wife were having dinner. And I was like, it's Dave Sim. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, you know, but she knew it was important by the way I was geeking out. And we had the most pleasant conversation for like 2 hours. And we talked about stuff. I had a hook in the fact that in the message, I was just like, you would remember me, but we met once when I was 14 years old. You did an appearance in The Incredible Pulp, my comic book store. I ended up working there later on, but I was just a little kid at the store, and I met you, and blah, blah, blah. So he called, wanted to talk about that. And then he directed me to his own website where he has actual photographs of that Insta appearance. You can kind of see me in a flannel shirt, like totally early 70s, you know, chubby little kid. Just like, there's no explosions in the Cerebus comic, you know what I mean? But so it's fun. So he asked me, and I've been remiss in my duty. He asked me if I could give him the names of all the photographs because that was his first in-store appearance. So it was like it's of sentimental value. So we talked about that. And then I thought the conversation was over. He said he didn't want to be on my channel, but ask him whatever questions I wanted, and he would respond in his. If you go to cerebus.com, he did respond. So I asked a bunch of questions, and then he called me back. And then we talked for another 2 hours. And then the third day, he called me back again. So 3 days in a row, we had like two-hour conversations. You know, and then I guess it's over. You know what I mean? But he was nothing but light. He was funny. I thought he was going to be cranky. I thought he was going to be nasty and snide. he was as pleasant as, but he's been burned by the internet, and he's shy, so he doesn't want to show on anybody's.
So Creative Faye has a channel. This young woman, and it's a small channel, but she has a 4-part interview with Dave Sim, which I believe she did over the phone. I have not watched it, but I've heard her post about it in chats. Like, she's in Aaron LaPresti's chat a lot. So you could go look for her, creative_Faye, and you could probably have a similar conversation that John had, as a matter of fact. She talks about Dave Sim. She's one of the big fans. She's very young, 22, 23 years old. She's a big Dave Sim fan.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I looked up and I got Larry Lieber's, called him, and I happened to catch him the day he had surgery on his eye, and he was just all by himself and feeling bad that he needed surgery. And I just called him and we talked for hours. And he doesn't want to come on the camera. He doesn't want, but like we kind of made plans to go out to dinner, and we talked like 3 or 4 times, and then I was like, I don't want to keep calling him. Like, am I a pest if I keep calling him? Am I taking advantage of a lonely old man kind of thing? And now so much time has passed. I wonder if he would even remember that we talked. But I really enjoyed it. He wanted to talk about anything. He talked about comics. It was so good. My wife was even excited. She was calling up her friends. John's talking to Stan Lee's brother. John's talking to, you know what I mean? Like, and their friends like, I don't care. You know, but she was just so excited about it because that's how much people love Stan Lee, you know? So he was so good, but he refused to talk about Atlas Seaboard. Because I don't.
Well, that must have really been bad for him.
I kind of like
that's
a few times. Yeah, he just absolutely refused.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Which in a way tells me everything I need to know, but I would have liked to. But that has nothing to do with crossovers. But yeah, I would have. So I maybe I should. I mean, he's not getting any younger. He's in his 90s. You know,
I think he's like 96 or something.
Right. He emailed me his novel, you know, and asked me to read it. It's so cute. His novel's called Chirps, and he's really, really proud of this novel, but it was offered to be published a few times, but they want to change things, and he's like, no, I don't want it changed. And I admire that. The guy's 96 years old, and like his brother Stan, he wanted to have a novel published, but he refuses to compromise. And Chirps, it would make a great movie, like a wholesome movie. It's about a talking bird. It almost sounds like it's got like a superhero origin. So this guy finds a bird and the bird can talk, and everybody wants the bird because it's worth a lot of money, right?
He's so important. He named Tony Stark, or Anthony Stark as he likes.
Oh, he gets mad at that when you call him. He goes, Tony Stark makes your pizza. Anthony Stark invents. You know,
he Hank Pym he named.
Yep.
Janet Dim. Anything that's not alliterative.
Yeah.
Donald Blake he named. He was the first writer for Thor. He wrote full script, not plot. So there are like Jack Kirby working with him in full script, and they've gotten that confused with Stan Lee's scripts.
And he drew.
Yeah, he drew a lot. He drew Spider-Man Annual, like I think 4. When Peter Parker, what happened to Peter Parker's parents, what finally revealed is Larry Lieber drew that story. He drew this comic strip for a long time.
Yeah.
He drew Two Gun Kid for years. For years he did the Western. They let him do the Western books, you know, basically. Yeah. He's a very important person.
And it's funny.
The only one left, really.
He sounds like Stan Lee, you know. So on the phone, you can imagine that.
Did he get along with his brother, John? Do you know?
I didn't ask him any personal questions about, like, I did want to call him up and be like, hey, how you doing? Oh, great. I'm so glad somebody called me. I was feeling bad. I just had surgery, and it's nice to talk to you.
I just meant he may have mentioned it. I didn't think
you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be like, oh, great. It's good to hear. Are you okay? Now, tell me about your brother. Like,
by the way, I hated my brother, you know, whatever.
We kept it about him, you know. You know what I mean? Like, somebody calls me up, hey, John, how you doing? How's your brother? Tell me about your brother.
Right. No, I understand. I was just wondering if you mentioned something. That's all.
But he said he was, you know, his brother was proud of him for writing a novel. And I heard now that his novels finally getting published. So please, whoever's publishing this novel, get this novel out. Before, the guy's 96 years old. Get this book out. You could pre-order it on Amazon right now. It's called Chirps by Lawrence Lieber, and it's a fun book. It's fun. I was legit, like, at one point I was like, no, please, no, like I was getting into it, you know. It reminded me of like those old 50s movies where, like, what's his name, Gene Kelly is dancing with Jerry Mouse. Like, I picture the bird as like a cartoon character, and everybody else is real. You know, like, right. They used to do like in old Disney movies, stuff like that. You have Don Knotts with a cartoon dolphin or something like that. Like, that's how I picture it to be. You know, please get this book novel out in the bookstores before the inevitable happens. But anyway, Tony, do you have any more crossovers? Was that all of them?
The ones that matter to me, but I mean, that's the end of my list. But go ahead, gentlemen, take it away.
Arkham, do you want to talk about any of your favorite crossovers?
My crossovers are super generic, just because I'm not big into crossovers, if that makes sense. For me, my favorite crossover was First Secret Wars, just because I think about 84, somewhere around there. So that was like the time where I was really getting into collecting Marvel. And then just getting all my superheroes in one area to beat the crap out of each other. I thought it was great. Loved it. Second would probably go with, I'm one of the few because I do like reading the Bible, and I like big books like Silmarillion. I enjoyed Crisis on Infinite Earths a lot. I really enjoyed it because I liked being able to get into it and chew that fat, because it has a lot of fat in that book.
I'll say about the Crisis on Infinite Earths, like I've said this over and over and over again. If you watch my channel for a long time, it was a great book. It was a work of art, great story. What an event! And it failed. It succeeded in the purpose of increasing the sales of DC. It failed spectacularly in streamlining DC. It paradoxically made DC more confusing. And then, you know, they half-assed it. They should have canceled all the comics and started fresh and not worry about the past. You know, as ironically as that sounds, if you're gonna start with Superman, start with Superman #1. He never met Batman. There's no lore. He doesn't have any villains, and then start all over again. And you know, and have the editors guide what they could do. But they spent so much time reestablishing old continuity. Like, hey guys, you divorce that continuity. That's like breaking up with your ex-wife and then sneaking back and forth for booty calls once in a while. It's like, commit to the bit. They should, but I agree with you. Crisis on Infinite Earths made me a DC fan, and it is a great comic. And I'll tell you, the death of the Flash and the death of Supergirl. Spoiler alert. We talked about those in the comic book stores for years. That was up there with the ending of The Watchmen. That, you know, that was up there with Dark Knight Returns. We still talked about those until the closing of the comic book store. Those were events. But DC, I think they I don't want to say they dropped the ball, they fumbled the ball, you know. But I agree. Sorry to interrupt you, Arkham. But every time
No, I was going to show you this. Crisis signed by Mark Wolfman. That I had to get. I think it was, I got number 8 and then number 9. Pretty much the death issues that had him sign the first issue and the last issue of the series.
And I'm of the opinion that Barry Allen should never have come back, because that was the greatest comic book superhero death of all time.
Agreed.
And to my anal retentive sensibilities, it closed this paradox loop. He became the lightning bolt that gave him the man, that was so satisfying to read. And I'm not gonna lie, I was on my football team, hiding the fact that I'm getting emotional that Flash is running so fast with the Psycho Pirate, doing everything, and oh man, it was so good, burning himself up. It was great. Tony, what are you saying?
Yeah, I love that bit of retcon that Mark Waid did. You know, I don't like Mark Waid as a person. I don't like his politics. I don't like him in general. But his Flash run, to me, was the time. And what he did with that retcon was he made Barry Allen his lightning bolt. Right. He struck himself. He struck Wally West. He's not dead. He just merged with the Speed Force. And I thought that was such a wonderful thing to do to that character.
I'll also go on the record and say that the Speed Force is a bad idea.
They ruined it. Then they made the Strength Force, the Time Force.
Well, like they do this, the Speed Force to explain why there's so many similar characters in DC Comics. There's like a billion speedsters, right? Starting with Max Mercury, and then the Golden Age Flash. Like, why all these guys have the similar powers?
Well, that was going to be another my crossover. My favorite was first Flash interaction between Jay Garrett and.
That's another one that I was going to take. That
one's superb. Both of them running at the same time with the cover parallel to each other. I mean, that was awesome.
The Flash of Two Worlds, right? That's what it was called?
Flash of Two Worlds.
23.
I remember he just put up RoboCop versus Terminator. I do remember that too.
I remember that
in 7-Eleven off of the stands. But yeah, I liked a lot of the primary. I'm not when it comes to the old stuff, the story of Two Flashes. I think when Justice League and Justice Society of America met, that one's pretty good too, as a crossover. I think my favorite crossover moment, and it's going to sound really stupid because of all the other crossover moments that are so big, Spider-Man versus the X-Men in Secret Wars. I don't know why I love that so much.
I'll tell you exactly why I love it. Spider-Man beat the crap out of the X-Men.
Yeah. See, soloed the whole team.
That was the beginning. That was the beginning of the X-Men as whiny little bitches. So it was good to see. You're gonna be a whiny little bitch. You got spanked.
And then last but not least was I just had it in my head, and then you said something totally disappeared. Never mind.
I'm a horrible distraction. Just try to work with me for a week.
Yeah, but with my ADD, the small thing, I'm like, squirrel, what? And then gone.
Tony, what are you gonna say?
What I loved about this issue is Gardner Fox wrote himself into it. And basically the revelation that Gardner Fox was writing the Golden Age Flash stories through dreams, and he at the end of the issue, Barry Allen says he looks at the audience and he says, "I got to go find Gardner Fox and tell him that the Flash is out of retirement now, so he could start writing more stories again." I thought that was really neat.
I will tell you this, that's like if we get to it, but that's one of the things the public eye is exploring is that dreams. The dream world affects the real world, and then the sleeper agent will be like a bridge to that. So, some characters that are like I have a whole slate of characters that are supposed to be comic book characters in my comic book, but maybe public eye could actually interact with them. The Hulk and Batman, the giant-sized one, that was great. The only thing that bothered me is Batman kicks the Hulk in the chest, and then the Hulk takes a breath, and then Batman throws gas pellet in his mouth, and that's how he beats the Hulk.
I remember that. I had that.
Yeah.
Well, there's always Superman, Spider-Man, the original
Superman and Muhammad Ali. That one was famous too.
Matt Barr has issues with Marcus as a moderator for Katie did. Not my favorite.
She makes everybody a moderator. She's on while I'm working, so I'm really not there that much.
The less I say, the better. Muhammad Ali versus Superman was fun. That I really liked because it showed like you take away Superman's powers, he's still a well-built guy, but Muhammad Ali's trained, and the training just like Superman was never trained to fight. So I thought that was a cool story. Muhammad Ali without powers. I mean, Muhammad Ali beat Superman without powers. Now Muhammad Ali versus Batman. Let's see. I still say Muhammad Ali should win. I'm of the opinion that the specialist beats. Like, there's no way Batman's beating Muhammad Ali in his prime. Because Batman's supposed to be the detective. He can't put all of his points in fighting. He has to put some of the points over here, some of the points over there. Whereas Muhammad Ali, all the points are in fighting.
As opposed to Batman now, who is the master of everything.
Yeah, and well, he's not anymore because apparently now DC says that the Black Canary could beat Batman in a fight.
I'll believe that one when I don't see it.
The only way she beats Batman in a fight is if they're fighting and all of a sudden she screams in his face. You know what I mean? But like as a pure martial arts, I don't like as you know, contrary to what I just said, is I don't like Batman as the ultimate fighter. I like Batman as the greatest detective. I still think that he should be in the top 10 fighters, but just towards the bottom. Being in the top 10 is still respectable. I like Batman struggling a little bit. Super Batman.
I do like that they did tone Batman's martial arts prowess down a little bit, saying like Shiva and a couple other fighters are still better than him, even though he wins every fight he's in.
Batman would need his gadgets to beat Muhammad Ali. Yeah, there was a Twitter thing with all these pictures of like tough guys, like Chuck Norris and The Rock and what's his name, Steven Seagal, and then one of them was Muhammad Ali, and there's some guy who was just like in their prime. Muhammad Ali beats all of these guys, all of these guys, like Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, he's a big gigantic guy, but he's not a trained fighter. So
not at all.
Chuck Norris, all kidding aside, they say I'm going to take this guy's word for it that a martial artist's biggest nightmare was a boxer, because boxers could take hits, because it's just a matter of time before Muhammad Ali hits you. I don't know. But I just love the respect. At one point, Muhammad Ali was my favorite athlete, and then he started saying things about white people that bothered me.
Then you became a religious fervor.
Yeah. There was another comment in here that my favorite crossover is RoboCop vs. Terminator and the first Batman Judge Dredd crossover by Beasley. These are all so good. I
forgot about the Dredd Batman.
Yeah, and Bruce Lee was in there, and I don't know. Bruce Lee. How do we separate the legend of Bruce Lee from the man Bruce Lee? I don't know. I don't know enough about martial arts or Bruce Lee to say who would win in a fight, Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali.
Oh, Muhammad Ali is just so much bigger. Bruce was an amazing fighter. Don't get me wrong. I love Bruce. I always have, always will. But there is always size discrepancy. If somebody is that much bigger and just as good as a fighter as you are, most likely they're going to win. Bruce Lee was fantastic, but if Muhammad Ali touched him once on that chin, Bruce was out, period. There's just too much kinetic force to withstand that blow.
And they had like a bunch of professional wrestlers, and it's just like, you guys don't really take punches. You know what I mean? It's all choreographed. I'm sorry.
No, John, I'll give you some wrestling. You'll be like, what the hell are these guys doing? They're going to kill themselves. I mean, these guys are brutal. They beat the crap out of each other, and they do not hold back.
Well, yeah, they're all real wrestling, and sometimes I watch these MMA fights, and they're too brutal even for me to watch. I feel like,
those are real, the MMA fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any more crossovers, Arkham?
No, for crossovers. One last crossover, and I'm sure all of you are perfectly aware of it. It's not comic book orientated, but I loved it. My first time I've ever came across a shared universe, which was Lovecraft and Howard. They had Conan crossover into Lovecraft stuff. I thought that was amazing. I love that. Reading that.
Tony.
The Hunter and I know which one you're talking about. That's the God, I'm trying to remember that character. The one where they talk about Thothamon's ring, right? In the Lovecraft story.
Well, that in the Conan books too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Conan there's a lot of Lovecraft, like walking into the mist and going.
I only read one Conan short story written by Howard, but in Haunter of the Dark, that ring is Thothamon's ring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, now
his brass ring. It's a coiled snake. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And I know the Tower of the Elephant is like cosmic horror in Conan, which is.
And I love that the villain in that story is not a villain. at all.
Right.
The elephant's just like, dude, can you help me? I'm stuck.
Well, the villain was the guy who was imprisoning the elephant.
Yeah.
He was just a cosmic hitchhiker who got stranded. Tony, what you saying?
The beautiful part of that era of pulps was the Lovecraft Circle. Everybody was allowed to take a piece of it and run and do their own thing. And you had such notable contributions to the mythology, like the Book of Unspeakable Cults that was created by Robert E. Howard. Then you had the Book of Ibon, which was created by Robert Bloch to match with the Necronomicon on the evil tones from Pulp Fiction, which I thought was really good. Plus, you had notable characters like Sithagua, which was created by Clark Ashton Smith. It was later retconned as part of the Great Old Ones. Some really nice stuff there.
And then Lovecraft himself, like he took the, and of course it just escaped my mind. The play, the King in Yellow from was it Spencer?
It's a French writer. I don't remember his name.
But he just took this guy's whole work and then just, he didn't just take the story and put it in his story, but he referenced it a few times. Hastur. He was created originally in a short story by Ambrose Bierce, and then later on the character was taken by Chambers. That was the name of the guy that wrote the King in Yellow. He's the one that made Hastur into the King in Yellow in that book. And then Lovecraft liked the name, and he put it in. I think it was The Haunter in the Dark. And then our August Derleth was the guy that basically wanted to take. See, the thing about the Cthulhu mythos was it was like jazz. It was free flowing. There was no real continuity to it. And then August Derleth came in, and he decided to just stick things together and use duct tape. He tied the two elements.
Yeah, we keep this up. This will be a Lovecraft conversation.
Yeah, I can talk about this dirty stuff. Any more Arkham, or should we go to Marcus now?
That's it.
All right, Marcus, what are some of your favorite crossovers?
So one of my favorite crossovers is the Batman Captain America crossover in I think it's 96 by Byrne. That I really enjoyed that crossover. It was like one of his last really great comics. To me, where he really used Dick Sprang Batman really well, and they fit together with the Joker and Lex Luthor. That one was really good. And there's the X-Men Teen Titans, which is like the classic that everybody wants to read.
Yeah, that was gonna be on my. But here's this. I love this because it's the smiling Batman.
Yeah, he is a Dick Sprang Batman with the big chin, like a bigger chin than Cap, and his Captain America is always really classic. So I really enjoyed that. That was a pretty, one of the better '90s comics, I think. I don't think it's popular amongst some, but it's popular amongst me. Yeah. So that was the first thing I thought of that people don't really talk about. He also did.
Good
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I said I forgot about that one. It just completely escaped my mind. Good catch, good call. I mean, first off, anything by John Byrne, but Batman and Captain America, yeah.
And Marcus, from what you said, the X-Men Teen Titans.
The X-Men Teen Titans by Chris Claremont, Walter Simonson, and Terry Austin.
Yeah, that was my first introduction to Teen Titans and Deathstroke, and I'm like, this character's badass. And then I went and bought the Jessica saga or whatever it was called from Teen Titans.
Saga, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up buying that, and I'm just like, love Deathstroke and those characters.
It's funny. Where is it? Okay, there we go. It's funny because when this comic came out, I was like, obsessed with comics, but I didn't realize right away that it wasn't John Byrne or it was. I think this was like the first time I noticed what a great artist Walt Simonson is. I mean, the Terry Austin artwork, it gives you that John Byrne, George Perez look, but look at that. Tell me, as a kid, you saw that on a comic book store and you didn't want to buy that. That is just awesome. And
Yeah, it really
I
is.
cannot stress how popular the new Teen Titans were at the time. Rob Liefeld's arguing with people that they sold more. I don't know who sold more.
I really don't know.
I just
they-
remember during that time, X-Men would fly off the shelves. Whenever I go to the comic store, because I was a kid at the time, didn't have a lot of money, so I just picked up anything that was on the shelf to pull. If I didn't get the X-Men, if I didn't show up in time, they were gone. And no other comic book was that bad. X-Men were always flying off the shelves in the 80s anyways. And even in the 90s.
Teen Titans was, I'll say, probably the bestseller for DC at the time. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
it was so good. And
Although some of the characters, Jericho,
Jericho,
Donna Troy's husband. I mean, come on.
Jericho was the jumping of the shark. I hate that character. He's one of my most hated characters.
Right.
Something about him. But look at that. Just all those great costumes. We got a bunch of people watching. Any youngsters like look at it. Do you find these costumes like
This is such a good comic.
Like I find these costumes just I don't know, timeless.
It's like, and they're all between the Teen Titans and then it's the Cockrum designed, X-Men. The colors are all good, like all balanced, like the way he drew the whole thing. That dark side's really overlooking everybody, even the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix is really powerful. Like that big dark side makes you think he's even more powerful.
And I got such a kick out of Xavier in the Mobius chair.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like nobody hated Professor X back then. It was just like all the same. You know what I mean?
I've always hated.
That's right. You did. I forget. But you know what I mean. Like for that story, it was good.
Yeah. I didn't like Bert. I didn't like Xavier because when I collected X-Men, the first issue of X-Men I got was 114. Xavier was packing up and leaving. Then from 119 on, I collected the X-Men every month, and Xavier wasn't part of the team. And then when he shows up, he just starts barking orders at everybody.
Yeah, he's the automatic leader. Yeah, I know.
I was like, "Who are you? You don't earn." I didn't know his whole big. I kind of did, but like,
they killed him off in the '60s too. The fake kill off. I mean, it's happened a couple of times with him.
Yeah,
they always want to get rid of him because he's a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, you don't need a mentor. You don't need a school teacher after you graduate.
Well, that's what they really did. That's absolutely right.
So I thought, like, I remember when the new Mutants came out, I thought it would be the X-Men just go off and do what they want, and Xavier has nothing to do with the X-Men anymore. He would just be the teacher figure who stayed with the New Mutants. To me that makes sense.
I like the New Mutants book. The original New Mutants book was really underrated. They had a lot of. I mean, it wasn't as spectacular as the X-Men, but they had a lot of good issues. With a lot of pretty good art, pretty good writing, and then we're told that it sucked so bad that they gave it to Rob, and I'm like, really? That's what it did? That didn't make any sense to me. And to have some cybernetic guy come back from the future and be their leader made less sense to me. I could get in trouble with other people I stream with.
Yeah, I got to say the X-Men 86 was like the end for me.
Yeah, I mean, I got those issues up to 100, but it wasn't the same, and it just didn't make sense.
Yep. I think I like that concept of the mentor who trains the team and stuff like that, but it was established that the X-Men were, a professional superhero team. They didn't need a mentor anymore. So I think the New Mutants would have been where Xavier shined.
Right. That's why they brought it back too. That's exactly right.
Xavier should be in a crossover with Uncle Ben. What does that mean? Does that mean kill off Uncle Ben? Kill off Xavier? Because that's the only way they could cross over. Because I don't want Uncle Ben to come back.
Yeah, they've never brought Uncle Ben back. That's kind of interesting, right?
So my favorite crossovers we already talked about. The ones I was going to X-Men Teen Titans. That's my favorite crossover. Then I was going to say the Flash of Two Worlds, because to me that's such an important crossover, and the fact that it establishes the multiverse of DC. And then I was going to bring up the first Human Torch Namor meeting. Those are my favorite crossovers of all time. And then, I knew you guys were going to beat me to it, so there you go. But I'm trying to think of now, are there any other like Atlantis Attacks or any of those type of crossovers?
Well, there's one DC thing that we didn't speak about, and it was a yearly crossover between the Justice Society and the Justice League. That was usually, I remember when I was before 1976, I bought everything, like anything we could get our hands on. And they had every year they crossed over. Sometimes it was 2 issues, 3 issues. I think that's been an important crossover in comics history.
I remember I bought it, and I can never remember the number, but it was a Justice League, Justice Society crossover issue, and it had all their faces and columns.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I aped that on. So when Bill Williams has a punchline, giant size punchline number 1, the varied cover with Renzo and my characters is going to have that on the cover, the faces. That's George. I just remember being fascinated by. There's a Flash with a different costume.
I love that Flash helmet too, by the way.
And I remember Power Girl was like being, bossy, and I was like, who is this Power Girl? So yeah, I love those. You're absolutely right. You got your hammers? What are you gonna say?
Well, I always loved. I know this is kind of a guilty pleasure for me, but have any of you read the Archie Punisher crossover?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's wild, right?
That was pretty good.
It's funny that Chuck Dixon was pushing for
Alien Legion,
a Clint Eastwood Punisher crossover. Dirty Harry. He wanted a Dirty Harry Batman, and if he couldn't get Dirty Harry, he wanted Dirty Harry Punisher. And that's one of the things he said to the editors is like, you got the Punisher meeting up with Archie. They're like, oh, we can't do that because of continuity and it'll disregard the character. It's like, you have him teaming up with Archie. Why not?
Did you hear his show this week where somebody brought up the question, why don't you have Nexus team up with the Alien Legion? And he just went, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Who owns the rights to Alien Legion now? Because
that's I have to re-listen to that because I think he mentioned it. I don't know if it's Marvel or Carl Potts.
Carl Potts. Tony left. I hope he's okay. I didn't boot him.
Because it was under the Epic banner, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Epic, which was creator owned. So I think Carl Potts still owns it.
Carl Potts and Frank Sirocco, right there. I
would love to see Alien Legion and Strike Force Moratorium.
Oh, I love you. Remember Strike Force Moratorium too?
Oh, absolutely loved it.
Oh, what a great book.
We of us who are about to die salute you.
Yeah, I love that comic.
Now, I remember that comic too. Was that a Japanese comic brought to America, or was that its first appearance?
That was American.
No, that was American.
I just love the idea of fighting aliens with superheroes, but the cost of you gaining that power is you're going to die in 6 months. Love that. Great.
Yeah.
I got to reread that. It's embarrassing to admit I never read Alien Legion.
I loved it. Great.
I have the first series, and I read it, and I didn't remember any of it. And then I saw there was a volume 2, and I'm like, that's the series I read. And
it was like Carl Potts and Frank Sirocco, and eventually it was Chuck Dixon and Larry Stroman and Wills Pertot, inked some of it, and Scott Williams inked Strike Force Moratorium over Brent Anderson. But Brent Anderson is a forgotten guy because the only thing he's done is Astro City, and people are now not remembering Astro City.
I loved Astro City. I thought the art in Astro City was great, especially
fantastic.
Covers.
Yeah. Well, he designed all that stuff. Yeah, Astro City is an important comic to somebody here. I don't know who.
Yeah, I love Astro City.
I know you do.
Heroic Tales was supposed to be modeled after Astro City, and that each issue was going to be a standalone new character and everything. I mean,
John, pick up Alien Legion. I
did. I ended up. I think I got the first season and the first series, and I haven't read it yet. So I got to bump it up on the stack of comics.
Second series is the one that I read as a kid. Now that I have the first series, So I have to go back and read series 2 to compare them. But I do remember some very specific series 2 issues. And I think Chuck did write my favorite series, which was the Jugger solo book. Because it's the Alien Legion. It's it's like the Green Lanterns basically, but with guns and different things. There's an issue where there's one character and he has 3 sidekicks with him. It's just him solo. And that was the only solo book. I think Marcus knows which one I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jugger story.
Mhm.
So
I gotta read it. You know what? It's funny because when people talk about Dreadstar, I'm like, I read Dreadstar. I don't remember. There's like 3 different Dreadstar series, so I've been trying to get all of the Dreadstar, and I'm putting them in chronological order, and I'm going to give it a reread. And even then, you don't get the full Dreadstar because Dreadstar appeared as another character in the universe that existed before Dreadstar. That universe got destroyed, and then he came back as Dreadstar. That's kind of in continuity in Epic magazine.
That's right. Yeah, he reprinted that a couple times in that painted black and white weird thing.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute, I know this character. This is Dreadstar, but he's got a different name. Oh, the universe died, and he was reformed as Dreadstar. I was like, oh man, Jim Starlin really liked this cosmic character. Hey, Ark just sent me an image. Is it okay if I show it?
yeah, please.
Okay, can I show it?
I might tone down some of the forward shadowing on her dress that I'm looking at. The shadowing seems a little bit too harsh for having so much light in the front.
But
And
Markup, I just want to say something. Your art has leveled up like in the last 2 pages. Go back and redraw everything else. No,
no, there's some edits I want to do on those first couple pages. There really is.
Why is it not?
John, when I said I'll do that book, I told you it's like my digital is shit. I'm pretty good on paper. I need practice on digital, and then doing those last like 9 pages has got my practice going.
So a little bit of setup. So I had a dream about a year ago, and that night I dreamt 2 complete comic book stories. So I just started writing them, and then I offered this story to a couple of people. One of the guys was like, I'm literally doing a Greek mythology story for somebody else. I want to do something else. So I was like, I was disappointed, but whatever. So and then I saw Arkham's artwork, and it reminded me of Ariel Otis from old D&D. I was like, all right, so do you want to do this? So this is the cover to it right now. Can I make it? I'm going to make it big. Can I make it even bigger?
Nice.
Yeah, look at that. So this is a husband and wife. They're archaeologists, and they're looking for basically the Garden of Hesperides, and they find it, and hijinks ensue. They find like a cache of old Greek mythological weapons and magic items and stuff. Like I said, my comics are superheroes meet D&D meet H.P. Lovecraft. And then they're finding out that there's something wrong with the universe. Like I have an overwhelming arc in my stories that's leading to something, but I realized sometimes I think people pick it up and stuff. I don't know if I'm dropping it. So this whole story is filling in something that's happening, you know. So look at this. So that's Mythman, and that's his wife Fable, and he is like a demigod now. He's got Pluto's helmet, Hades' helmet, the invisibility helmet. He's got the tooth of the great the Gray Sister, and he makes a spear out of it, and then he's wearing the golden fleece. So like it's constantly replenishing him, you know. So he never gets tired. He regenerates, and then you don't see it in that he's not finished. He's got Hermes' winged sandals, and then she has the eye from the Gray Sisters. So it gives her like divination. There's a whole big thing of my magic system. That there's 7 schools of magic, and 3 of them are male and 3 of them are female. But necromancy is both male and female since everybody dies. So like he's going to embody the male magic, and she's going to embody the female magic. You know, so he's more explosive types magic, and she's more subtle enchantment type magic and divination and things like that. So I don't know. It's a. I thought it was a 13-page story, but I realized the script that I sent to Arkham, the paging was all messed up. So it's turned out to be like and then a couple of Arkham's like, can I turn this into a double-page spread? And I was like, absolutely, because you really shine on the details of like architecture and landscapes and everything. So I don't want to spoil what it is, but there's it was basically like a couple of panels, and then I was like, you know what, turn that into a 2-page spread. So
are we gonna do because I gave you the one, are we gonna use the reveal as a splash page, the original art I sent you?
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay.
So that'll be that's.
I didn't know if I was gonna have to redraw that with or not.
No, don't redraw that. You'd kill yourself. Yeah,
No, I love that one.
yeah, I love that. I can't wait to see what when it gets colored. So, and of course, I sent all the pages out to Daniel to color, and then I don't know. It must take months to get to wherever Daniel lives because I haven't heard from him since he started doing some flats. But that's this we're not on a schedule, so I give Daniel stuff that's not pressing, and Oscar, because Oscar's like right on it. But look at
Marcus, what do you think of thank you, Geek Do, the circles in the Art Nouveau? I was thinking about doing those like old Greek pottery paintings, and then just do like different symbols in each one to represent different key elements.
Yeah, I like.
I was
really
just
like
saying this.
the circles. I like the design of the page. It's still pretty clear. I mean, it's small on my picture here of what's going on. You don't have to make it bigger. I can see it. Yeah, it does look like an Art Nouveau thing, and I do think if you put some stuff in the circles right now, without something in the circles, everything else is so detailed, they look kind of empty.
Right.
I was thinking of this.
You know what I'm saying? Like you had the background. If you had the background go into the circles or whatever your design would be. Yeah.
Looking at Greek pottery and stuff like that, and how the designs and the fundamental basics of their art, I was thinking about drawing like an ancient Greek drawing of some of the things that John wrote in the book, so you can kind of see them, but it's not going to give away.
That's
until you open the book and go, oh, that's what that symbol is. That's what that represents.
Okay. The only thing is, Heroic Tales is going to take up space. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. So this whole center part, I'm not worried about putting on the top 3 anything big in there, because the Heroic Tales or the Mythman's going to go there. On the left side, I'm assuming that's going to be where the character splash is with the issue 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever issue it's going to be. And then maybe down below, do the Heroic Tales or however you're going to do it. So I'm just going to draw it, and you put your stuff wherever you want to. So it goes over anything I draw. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
It is
it's your advertisement, my art. Do what you need to do with it.
Yeah. And this is a perfect example of where I said, draw the cover. Yeah,
I'm not getting lazy, John. We spoke about it. I did. I have. Well, whenever you're ready, let me know.
Yeah.
And I have more stuff for you. I'm working on it.
Cool. So
just so you know, I don't.
So it seems like our topic is over, or crossovers.
There's so many good crossovers.
There are so many good crossovers.
Speaking of crossovers, if anybody has an independent comic, I'm not kidding. When I jokingly called it Crisis on Independent Earth.
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
But this is my premise. I have a universal threat. I'm going to introduce it, and then what I would do. So I'll introduce it, and then so could be in anybody's comic, and then I'm going to have a couple of pages of my characters dealing with that, and then I'll probably begin. Like I have a couple of characters that could transcend universes. So like the public eye and the metaphysician or whatever, they'll probably send out a message like we need help. And then what you do is if you have and you want to contribute, if you want to contribute 30 pages, if you want to contribute 2 pages, just send me your finished files and I can insert that. And then they all need to do this. So however you want them to do this, you have your own bad guy stopping them or whatever. So that way it's like Legos. I could just insert it into the story, make it as big as people contribute. And then the ending, I'm going to ask you, like, this is how we're going to solve the threat. What do you think we should change it because of the inclusion of your characters? And then we'll hopefully come up with a solution, solve the threat. And then what I want to do is everybody gets the files. If you contributed, you get the files. You could print it with your cover. I could print it with my cover. And then you print it and sell it along with, like, make it an add-on for your own comic.
You should do that with on, really. He's got a billion characters.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. Now I understand it's herding cats, but so think about it. It you contribute as much as you want. You know,
Yeah,
so
that's
do you want to do 2 or 3 pages? You know, and then like, you know, maybe I'll do a campaign and sell it all, and whatever we decide. I'll do a campaign, sell it all, and then just to recoup the money, you know, for printing and whatever, and then if there's any profit whatsoever, it'd be like, okay, you contributed 6 pages, you get, you know, we'll do like a cross multiplication figure, and then divide all the money. You know, imagining that we'll make money. You know, it's independent comics. You know, but whatever, and then you get the files. You want to print them out, sell them, put them on your website. That's fine. You know, I just think it would be fun. And then the last page will just be like, you know, Tony Griggo's character could be bought here. Arkham's character is from this comic, you know, and the last is just an advertisement for all of our comics. You know, I don't know. I think it would be fun. You know, and of course, I only want to do it with independent people. I don't want to deal with corporations or anything like that. But I'm willing to put the files together, you know, put it all together, do a campaign, promote it, and then we all do whatever. I know somebody will get, oh, that's not fair, you're doing this, but I know, just consider that it's supposed to be a fun project to promote independent comics. But whatever. If anybody's interested and you see this, let me know. Let me know. I'm not going to start it until I get somebody who's like, yeah, but I have the idea. I'll tell you the idea. You know, maybe I'll make a video explaining the threat, and then if I get pages, I get pages. So, what do you think? Oh, what do you want to do next week? What's a good? I know people keep saying stuff, but I don't want to write them down, because if I can remember them, then they're good.
How about your favorite medium that you want to see transcend the medium that it's in? Like you say, this comic book would make an excellent movie, or this book would make an excellent video game, and how you would actually turn it into whatever you want it to be. Because we always talk about, oh, this makes such a good episode, this makes such a good movie. Well, let's talk about it and how we would do it.
What about the most evilest comic book character? Like the evilest ones?
Who's the most evil?
Yeah. Did you ever do anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know, but we could do that again. But so far we have, okay, Arkham, how about we just say this? Who deserves a Netflix series or something like that? Okay.
Yeah. Something more simple, yeah.
Series. Who's the most evil character? Marcus, do you have any ideas?
I don't know. I mean, like we could do. Well, we could have the cat decide. You know.
Yeah. What does Butterscotch think?
Is he in here? No, he's not.
I know Butterscotch thinks the most evil person is Marcus because he's 4 minutes late for feeding.
Yeah, well, that's true. He wakes you up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be fed, as a matter of fact.
I was thinking this idea, and of course, I'm not the tyrant over here, but I was like, what if we would swap one DC character for one Marvel character? You know, and I don't want to speculate. So we have what deserves a Netflix series, the most evil character, swap a Marvel character for a DC character, you know, and they stay in their universes forever. And Marcus, do you have any idea? And then chat, you guys vote, and that's what we'll do.
Well, since I'm looking at the drawing Storm for no reason, we could do weather characters. We haven't really talked about what different weather characters: Thor, Storm, Weather Wizard. You know, there's a host of them.
This is a great one, Perth. Most out of character moments.
Oh, that's not too bad if I remember.
That is a really good one.
Except that we don't know any of the modern stuff. They're almost all out of character now.
Yeah,
right. Everything after 2014
out of character. That's a pretty good one.
Would Independent Earth be the main universe or just the title? The title was kind of a goof, but I can't think of a better title just yet. But just like, you know, because I think Crisis on Independent Earth just lets everybody understand exactly what the comic book is about.
That's a great name for a comic title, right? Crisis on Infinite Earth. That makes exactly the exact title you need it to be.
what is the main universe? Whatever universe your character is in is the main universe. So if if Phoenix Press wants to do one with Screecher, that's Screecher's universe is the main universe for Screecher. Mephisto, what being the most evil character, or just Mephisto in general? The Reavers,
Reavers were pretty bad.
From Firefly.
No, I just think the Marvel Reavers from X-Men.
Yeah, they were pretty nasty.
Yeah, especially.
I always think the Red Skull.
So
but
good.
let's talk about it when we do it then.
I don't want to start speculating because then that ruins the whole thing.
We'll just go into another 2 hours of talking about.
So, what does the chat think? We'll give. Can I make a poll?
I think the villains one's really good too. I think that one's good.
Yeah, these are 4 good ones. These are good ones. Let's see. I think I have to go to YouTube and actually make a poll. So you guys talk amongst yourselves while I see if I can actually make a poll.
That art was beautiful, Marcus. It looked really nice. I mean, Arkham, it looked really great. It was awesome.
Thank you. I've been really slowing down, looking at more reference photos and doing stuff and just taking my time with it instead of getting overzealous and overexcited. Excuse me.
Yeah. This comic isn't on a schedule, so Arkham has as much time as he needs. Same with Marcus.
I'd have too much time. Too much time. There's too much time on my hands, like the old song.
Does anybody know how to make a poll?
I do not know.
Oh well, I'll figure it out later. But everybody vote in the chat. What do you want to see for the next? It's Clobbering time.
DC can have Spider-Man. Well, there is characters that are called in DC called that are Marvel type characters, and there's characters in DC that are DC Marvel characters that are DC. So you have to figure out which ones those are.
Well, there was a DC character in the 40s called the Tarantula. I mean, a Spider-Man type character in the 40s called the Tarantula. He had suction cups on his feet, which would allow him to climb up alongside walls, and he had a gun that would like shoot webbing. So he was, in all essence, Spider-Man. He had a really terrible costume, though. Terrible.
Hey, Marcus, you've seen these, right?
How
big these books are?
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Sure.
John, this is how big those Barry Windsor Smith books are.
Oh, the storyteller books, yeah.
Yeah, they're.
Yeah, I found them on my comic shop, and I ordered issue number 1 because
11 by 17. They're pretty big.
Yeah, it's called.
I used to get them, but they got expensive when I was.
I got them for $5 a piece.
But I meant at the time when you're buying all those other comic books.
Yeah, for sure.
In the mid to late 90s, got expensive for me because I had like a family and stuff.
We have 1 vote for out of character moments. I kind of like that one too. I also kind of like it because it's nobody in the panel, so nobody will get their feelings hurt. Do you guys want to do out of character moments?
Sure, we'll do that.
We'll
I'll look it up.
Yeah. I'm sure if anybody's been watching my channel for more than 3 weeks, you know one of my out of character moments.
Yes, I
do know you're right.
What were you gonna say, Tony?
I'll try not to steal it.
I just remembered a really odd crossover that I kind of liked. Does anybody remember Barry Windsor Smith's Rune?
Yes.
Yeah.
The space vampire. He had a crossover with Conan. Probably
That's
the
right.
last time that Barry Windsor Smith drew Conan. It was actually a neat one shot.
Wow, Ruin! I
It
forgot.
was the Malibu comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But when Marvel acquired Malibu, it just sort of everything disappeared. Yeah.
And it's funny, is like when Barry Windsor Smith really touches a character and really works on it, it almost seems like nobody else. It's his character, like Solar. To me, that's Barry Windsor Smith's character. Period.
Well, he got along with Bob Layton for a long time, so he did a lot of work for them.
Yeah.
His Solar run was the beautiful, beautiful work.
Yeah, I like you don't want to redo a Martin Scorsese movie, and you don't want to redo a Barry Windsor Smith comic,
Right.
Like I'm trying to think. There's like not too many covers of certain bands. Like some bands are so good, you don't cover. You don't cover.
Or some bands are so bad you don't cover. I mean, 6 1/2 dozen the other.
Bruin and Conan crossed over in 2 separate issues from memory. Not positive. Oh, he's not positive that they. Okay.
Ooh, and the Gru and Conan crossover. That one was a good one too.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Who?
Gru the Wanderer.
Yeah, Bruin.
That was an interesting one.
Comics I haven't read yet.
Nexus Magnus Robot Fighter was good.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Nexus and Alien Legion. Chuck is on the phone with Mike Barron like 10 minutes after that.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure Mike Barron already has a story before Chuck even called him.
Yeah,
And
but
Chuck had a story too.
let's do it. He's got to talk to Carl Potts, right?
He said, I have to re-listen to it because I listened to it while I'm driving, and I thought he said like it's something that could be done, but I have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, well, it's too. Excuse me, it's too individually owned.
I
IP.
met Carl. He's a nice enough guy. I don't say he would say no. He gets along with Chuck and Mike Barrett. I think.
Oh, you know what's
Although I don't
funny
think
is today I was doing in construction. Sometimes when you're doing a big building, you give it a job and you just repeat it for a week. So this was a week of me doing the same thing. Me and my partner just we had a routine set. And since he's only 30 years old and I'm 57, he's the guy going up on the ladder, and I was assembling things on a rolling cart and then handing them to him, and then he was installing it in the ceiling. And the less he does on the ceiling, the happier he is. And if I don't have to climb up and down a ladder 900 times a day, the happier I. So we
Oh yeah, I don't blame you.
So I'm assembling everything on the rolling table, getting the material, getting batteries for the saw and everything like that. So it gave me time to daydream, and I came up with a story, and I'm just like, I gotta pass this, because this is I came up with a Chuck Dixon story, and this story's been rolling around in my head for years, but I finally got it. You know what I mean? Like, for me to write a story, I have to have an opening scene. And if I can't have an opening, I don't start writing until I have an opening scene. Once I have the opening scene, I'll start writing. But I got the opening scene, I got the ending. And Matt, if you're still here, Matt Bauer, he has a great. I don't want to spoil it because it's not my information, but he has a great idea for a comic, and he asked me to participate for it. And he gave me a specific assignment. And as he was giving me the assignment, I just blurted out my idea. And he goes, "That's it. You got it. You understand exactly what I'm talking about.
You understand the assignment."
Right." And I was talking to my foreman today, and I just got carried away and geeky, and he was just being polite and listening to me. Have you ever just talked to somebody about comics who's not interested in comics and they're just backing away? But he just, I don't want to spoil it, but he just said, "Oh, that story like this." And my immediate reaction was, "You don't understand the story." And then I was like, "Wait a minute, that's brilliant." And I said that. I was like, that's brilliant. Because I just said, I don't know how to end the story, but this is the premise. I said, all I have is a premise, but I don't have an ending. And he just said something. And oh my God. So this weekend, I'm gonna be doing a lot of writing. But this is a guy who could care less about comic books, just came up with the best ending for a story.
That's so fun.
So there you go. When we I don't, Arkham, you're writing a story. I don't, Tony, are you writing or anything? I know you should be with your mind and everything.
Yeah, I have to start looking at the script structure. I've never written a comic script, so I have to find that website that people are telling me about that has old comic books.
I never followed any scripts.
Well,
I just broke it into panels. I said, okay, panel 1, this is what I want. Panel 2, this is what
Here's the tip, Tony, that I'm going to say. Don't have the characters say more than one thing in a panel.
Okay.
My writer that I write with, not John, he was famous for having, I would have a word balloon here, a word balloon here, a word balloon here, a word balloon here. Don't do that. That's like a Claremont thing. Don't do that. They say one thing each panel. Hey, and then the next one. It drives me nuts.
I sent John a proto, really alpha thing, and he's like, "There's so much going on. I have no idea who's saying shit." And I'm like,
"Yeah, sometimes you gotta and then that way we can take the word balloon and plan it to be at the top and hang it down so that you're not doing what I saw in a comic in a campaign I saw where the word balloons crossing over the character's body. I'm like,
right. Like,
yeah.
I got the Will Eisner sequential art, and one of the things that he says that just struck me the most is, so Spider-Man says something, Mary Jane replies. That's it. Then go to the next panel.
That's it.
Now, maybe once in a while you can have Spider-Man replying to the reply, like, where are you going? To the store. Why? Maybe. But like,
yeah,
less is more. Like at first I was like, Mike Barron, like, why are you telling me there's too many word balloons in it? But I do see that. He's absolutely right. So, and then the other thing is, be aware this page basically has a concept. So this page is Poinsettia having a problem in Science City. This page is the public eye noticing the problem. This page, you know what I mean? So each page has like so use the pages. And the only way, like, I'm no expert. Like, this guy ripped apart my comic book just 2 days ago. You know what I mean? So consider the source. And he was absolutely right. But like each page, it's almost like like when you're writing an essay, each paragraph.
Yeah, it is a paragraph.
And each page is a paragraph.
It is a paragraph. That's right. That's right.
So, and you'll just know, like, this isn't like this is Batman having dinner with Alfred, and then like, I gotta go. That's the end of the page. The next page is Batman now in his Batmobile driving across some. That's a whole other theme. That's
when they do plot style, John's writing full script. But when you do plot style, let's say you did plot style. My feeling is, unless you have this is first page plot, this is second page plot, every paragraph is a page without the dialogue. It's longer with the dialogue. So I've done a plot a couple of times, and and so that's exactly right. That's exactly right, John.
And then listen to your artist, because Tony, I think you and I are word people. Marcus and Arkham are visual people. You know what I mean? And it's never going to look exactly. Very few times, I got to say, a couple of times, Arkham, you hit exactly what I was picturing. And I was so happy when I said Sal Buscema thugs, and Marcus literally drew the people I was picturing. It's so much cool. And then there's a few times I'm like, I didn't think of that, but that works. So yeah.
Well, John, speaking of like us as artists visually, what do you think about that change I gave you on that newest page preview with the opening eyes?
I gotta remember it. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, it's funny because it threw me off, because it's almost like it's. I don't remember the exact page numbers, but it's like part of page 12 and part of page 13. But I see where you're going, and it kind of makes sense. But after I'm done talking tonight, I'm going to go through all the pages you sent me and just make sure, because it's easy to see a page and see the storytelling, but I got to look at the page beforehand to make sure that there's a continuity of storytelling.
And that's why, like, when I showed you like 5 pages at once, it's so that way it can keep me where I know where it's like chess pieces. I know where every piece is at.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you go like, oh, this isn't going to work because on this page we're going to have to do this.
Perth is also absolutely right. Speaking iconically is fine, but reading a comic too quickly doesn't. I know that was like a big problem with Image Comics. Is like,
yeah, too fast. You don't get. There's a value. Like, you're asking these people to spend, even if it's $10, it's a good amount of money. You want to give them a value in story and art, and it's and a lot that has a lot to do with the quality, and it's quality of every little thing.
Now, I was talking about dialogue, like, so Spider-Man says this, Mary Jane says that, but you can throw in a caption box. I always like, you put in a caption, Forest Hills, the secret house of, I don't know, I'm making up stuff on the spur of the moment, but like, in Mary Jane apartments, where the sound of rain is, I don't know. And then, where you going? To the store, but it's raining. You know what I mean? Like, you could put it, but like Chris Claremont was the master of the obvious, as they're eating dinner. It's like, over dinner, they're like, we see that they're eating the dinner, but all I got to say is you'll get a feel for it. And then, like, write your script and then have a few people read your script, tear it apart, and it's going to hurt your feelings, and then you get over it. Then you realize they're right, or you realize they're wrong, and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun.
You'll be able to do it, Tony. It won't be
Tony, you'll do it. You'll do it great. You'll do it great. You've read enough comics. You don't even realize how much you know about comic book writing until you'll do great. The hard part is this something that somebody wants to pay to read? You know what I mean? Is this a complete story?
That's always the question.
Yeah. Is this a complete story? Is this a satisfying story? Like, I would discourage a 12-issue epic.
I'm reading. Like one just came now, and I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't read it yet, but I know it's wait, issue 4.
Right. Like,
and there's two dangers to that. One, you can't get it through. It's going to be at least every quarter. The most you could do is 4. And then the second part, if you have the same artist, you're wearing that dude out. I mean, it's a lot of work, especially with pencil and inker. You know what I mean? Like, we're not separating the work anymore.
That's why I'm working with 7 different artists, because
that's the pizza many style.
Renzo's working with different people too. It's not, so he's working with Aaron Farrow, he's working with RJ. I'm sure he's working with somebody else. So like, I only have him part of the time. So Oscar has a couple other artists. They're so good, but they're different. So one guy would be perfect for a horror story. Another guy he introduced me to would be great for a sci-fi story. And then Marcus is doing. So that's what I'm doing. Like, I have a whole bunch.
You got so many ideas. It's kind of amazing. It's amazing. It just amazes me. Yeah.
But I wouldn't do a 12-issue story. Like I think like what Brian Bauer's doing with Wolf and Batsy is just the best. Self-contained. He did 1 4-point I can't even talk anymore. 4-point story, 4-part story. Jeez, that was good to get that out of my mouth.
That was
John.
kind of
but he released them all at the same time because he writes, he draws, he inks, he letters.
Yeah, he does it all.
So he took his time, but he released them all in one shot. But other than that, I would just do. Unless you could do like every 2 months or something like that, I wouldn't do long, protracted. Everybody wants to, but I don't. A lot of these comics, I'm like, I don't remember this. Like, oh, she picked up the scarf. Well, what does that mean? I read issue 3 a year and a half ago. I don't remember what the importance of the scarf is. Now I got to.
Yeah, no, it is a problem.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the vote of confidence. I'll certainly give it a try. I would really want to think of an idea that everything's been done pretty much, but I have to find an idea that I could maybe tweak and make it as unique as I possibly can. I wouldn't want to write anything that's cliche written.
I don't know. I was just like, I hope you would do like a pulp hero.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
The character that you were talking about, the accountant,
Oh, yes. That'd be great. Yeah, El Contador. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, do it. Oh, wow. Like a pulp, a pulp hero set in the 20s, but in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Get Oscar to color it or draw it.
In the 20s in a border town during Prohibition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I keep pushing to Oscar that I wanted to do like a luchador inspired hero, and every time I have an idea, he goes, they already did it. So the last one, I was like, the Saint. Like he's a luchador, and he just started laughing. He's like, you don't know the Saint?
Yeah.
I didn't know. So he sent me Santo Comics, and he sent me a link to watch it on YouTube, and I watched the entire Saint movie. Now, for some reason that I'm not going to go into, targeted ads are a big hot topic in the comic book world. If you were to see my targeted ads, they're all in Spanish now because I've been watching the Saint.
I do that with there's a song, an artist, her name's Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
She sings probably the most beautiful rendition of La Llorona I've ever heard in my life. And she was, I think she was like 16 when she sang it, all in Spanish. I don't, I understand mucho poquito español. And I love that song. I listen to it all the time, even though I only understand half of what she's saying. It completely transcends language.
That's one of my favorite urban legends is La Llorona, and I would at someday somewhere I would like to do a comic book story based on that. When I was living out in Albuquerque, I just remember this old Indian woman, Native American woman. We would because that's like what are the urban legends? The Three Sisters is one of them. The La Llorona. You know, and it's funny because as we were sitting in the woods drinking beer, and not in the woods, but somebody's backyard that was big enough to be the woods, drinking beer, telling these stories. And when she was done, other people were like, that's not how the story goes. It goes like this. And they told it with like a different flair. Oh, that's not how I heard it like this. It was so cool. And I've always loved that story. So I didn't know there was a song. I got to look it up.
Yeah. I might have the name wrong. I think Christina Aguilera might be the American girl.
Yeah, she was a musketeer.
Her last name is Aguilar or Aguilera, and just look up La Llorona, and I'll look it up and I'll send you the link to it. How's that?
In the 20s, in the border town during Prohibition with no feet, I don't get that. That's the tip. Is that a joke I don't understand, or is that a typo? I don't understand the no feet. Does he have wheels? I am the man on wheels. RRTNZ super chat. Thank you very much. Can't join you because I'm at work, bummer, because this was my suggestion. Oh, this was yours. Anyway, my vote is Crisis on Infinite Earths. Had its up and downs, especially afterwards, but great story too. Okay. I didn't understand, but now I understand. He suggested crossovers, and he's saying his favorite crossover is Crisis on Infinite Earth. We talked about that, so I don't know if you were listening or if you'll listen later. We all agree. We all like it, but
I don't like it.
Oh. You didn't like it at all? I thought you did like it.
I love the art, but remember, we discussed this. It destroyed.
Right.
It destroyed everything. It destroyed Superboy, right. Superman, Legion of Superheroes. Everybody. I think it failed big time.
For making money, it failed in its purpose for easy. But one of the things that it did do, which I forgot to mention, is it introduced me to so many characters that I didn't know.
That's true.
What is this character? What is this character? And then the Who's Who came out around the same time.
Yeah, Who's Who was that was fun. Who's Who was good.
I love the Who's Who over the DC universe. I mean the Marvel Universe books, even though I was more familiar because the Marvel Universe just went so into like pseudoscientific. I remember reading the Living Laser, and I'm like, I'm out. He just shoots lasers. Just say he shoots lasers. I don't need to know that he focuses. It's so stupid. Whereas the DC universe is like Superman flies. He flies. You buy that? Yeah, he also has strength.
One of the things that I remembered most about the Marvel universe was the revelation, right? That Cyclops' eye blast came from a punch dimension. Remember them? Like, oh man, that punch dimension, a dimension where everything's like punches everywhere. I'm like, who the hell came up with that?
Did I forget? Like this would be. Did I think this up, or did I read this somewhere that his eye beams are the same dimension where like the crimson bands of Starak come from?
Yeah, I read that something like that. Okay. Yeah.
That to me, I
kind of like the color.
I like that because it's literally just a kinetic blast.
Yeah.
Oh, the comments just jumped, but there was no new comments. That was weird.
I just saw that too. That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. So, anything anybody want to say? We've been talking for 2 hours. I mean, I can spend more time, but
well, it's not midnight, so there's that.
In the future,
it's not 2 a.m, so there's that.
So, anything anybody want to say before we close out? Tony?
Yeah, watch Marcus draw stuff. Please support John and Arkham. See you later, everybody. Thanks a lot.
You're always welcome. So remember, next week we're going to do what do we agree on? Out of character moments.
Out of character moments. Yeah.
That's good. And we have a bunch of lists. We've got to remember all of these.
Can I just have an example of an out of character moment? I mean, can I just get one example of one that we all know what I'm talking about?
Spider-Man giving up his marriage. One more day.
Captain America, I think during a Mark Ruffalo one, actually like using a gun. Like
okay, now I get you.
Stuff like that, like Batman shooting somebody. I wouldn't say out of character Superman and Batman at the beginning of their careers because that was their character for a time.
like
Okay.
like an all-star Batman slapping Robin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
something like that.
Forcing him to eat rats and all that. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, you know.
Thank you, Arkham. Anything you want to say?
Nope, just enjoying the process and can't wait to work on more stuff.
Yeah, Cyclops beam comes from solar energy absorption. I remember they brought that up in X-Men Annual number 6 when they went to the Arkham world,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in darkness, so Cyclops, his power ran out. And even as a kid, I'm
I
just
don't
like,
think they ever did that again.
right? They once in a blue moon they would reference that he absorbs solar energy and turns it into that, and then they changed it that it comes from another. But I was just like, if his power comes from solar energy, wouldn't he be naked? Like, why would he be covered head to toe? You know what I mean? Like, so what? He absorbs it from his nose and his chin. You know what I mean? Because
Well, why would it just go out of his eyes? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
well, that didn't bother me that it came out of his eyes, but like, I was like, yeah, but
Yeah,
I remember that too. And then he got shot by Storm's lightning and absorbed all that. Yeah, it was one of those great. There's not a character moment. Cyclops doesn't absorb lightning, except that one time when he absorbed lightning. Marcus, anything you want to say?
Okay, I'm on the studio tomorrow. John's Draw Subs. The first 2 hours, we're going to have Von Klaus on, tearing the trenches. The second 2 hours will be auction for Don and Shadowhawk Talks. I'm just telling you, I will be, if you want to buy some of my artwork, some of that will be going on all day on Apex Comics channel and Omer Glitch.
Cool.
I'm not passing any judgment on it, but I will put a couple of pieces in to keep myself out of trouble.
Good. Cool.
If you know what I'm saying.
And then I got Hero Tales 2 still available. I already talked about this. I want to have the Christmas special out in your hands by Christmas. The script is already written. It's a 16-page King Fu story, and I'm like, I can't in good conscience sell a 16-page comic. So I have a 6-page backup story, and it'll be a flip book. I'm trying out a new artist, Lily Brooks is her name, and she has like a manga influence. So I kind of made like a more lighthearted story. It's gonna be Christmas. It's called Christmas Magic. It's the Patriarch's family celebrating Christmas. Something that I'm gonna answer. It answers the question: how come Santa Claus doesn't come to everybody's house? You know, and how does Santa Claus make it to everybody's house? So read the Christmas special and answer this question. So it'll be 2 stories, 22 pages. I'm gonna since her story is only 6 pages, she's gonna do a cover, and as soon as she's done with 1 or 2 pages colored, and as soon as Renzo is done with the cover and 4 pages, we're gonna launch the campaign because I want to get it out there, people purchase it, and then get it in your hands Christmas. If it does really well, I'll have to send it to Critical Blast so he can have it all out in a week. If it does moderately well, I'll save a few bucks and send it out myself. But that's the goal. And then once Renzo is done with the 60 pages, he's going to continue with the Patriarch, and we'll finish that and hopefully have that out in a couple of months also. So that's the schedule for my comics.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep. And I guess it's time to say goodbye, kids.
Goodbye, kids.